What about this move Mr Novak's talking about reporting the government to the ILO? Will that do any good?
Well, it will do something. It will raise the issue internationally and it will get some profile, but it's not the only response we can go for. We've got to have an assertive and strong response at the workplace, in the courts, in the media, wherever we get a hearing. But we've got to mobilise our people and the people of Britain against these draconian laws, which will ban the right to strike for many workers in Britain. And we can't have that. That's what they have in totalitarian regimes, and we can't tolerate that. So we'll be pushing at the meeting tonight and on the Congress floor tomorrow in resolutions to be adopted, which we think will go through for a very strong position. A special Congress of the TUC, national demonstrations, and talking about how we are going to not cooperate and defy this legislation en masse across the movement as far as we can. We don't know the details of that because the details aren't with us. Regulations have got to come out along with codes of practice. And then we'll have to see what the judges make of this legislation in terms of human rights and equality. So there's a lot to play for, but we need the strongest possible response from a united Labour movement. That includes the Labour Party and the trade unions and other people in civic society who want to see the end of these unjust laws that are being forced through.
You say you don't know the details yet. What would this legislation mean for your disputes in the rail industry? You've been on strike now for over a year.
Well, it will, if they get their act together, the Tories, and publish the stuff as quickly as they can this autumn or winter.
I don't suppose you're in a hurry for them to do that, are you?
No, I'm not. I'd rather they didn't. I'd rather they withdrew from it. But if they do publish it and we're under it, the mandates we've got, the action we have been taking will be covered. And what they want me to do is write to my own people that have said that they want to go on strike and have taken that strike action and instruct them to go to work. Now, we find that an impossible position. How can I say to people that have maybe taken 20-plus days of industrial action and towed the line under the current laws that you are now illegal? You have to go and break your own strike and run services that are covered by a lawful mandate. So that can't happen. That's a contradiction both practically and in principle, and we can't accept that, and we'll have to work out how we can not comply with that legislation.
It's estimated that your members have lost more money by going on strike for a year or so than if they'd accepted an initial offer. That's not good leadership, is it?
Well, that's not true, because we're looking for salary increases. If you get a salary increase this year, you'll get it paid.
Yeah, but they've lost a lot of money, thousands, by going on strike for so long.
Yeah, but they understand that, John. They understand what they're fighting for. It's not just about money, as everybody knows by now. It's about their terms and conditions, their contracts of employment, and, of course, thousands that have been issued with notices of redundancy through their union. You won't get any pay rise if you haven't got a job. So that's a prerequisite. We've got to keep our people in the industry, and we've got to keep a service open for the public. We've heard this outcry in the last few weeks. 700,000 people have responded to this cuts programme that they're putting through in stations. So we think we've got the argument on our side, and the government has lost the argument, which is why they want to ban strikes. If you're losing the game, you want to change the rules halfway through, and that's precisely what they're doing. So our members are committed to the dispute. They know that we'll get a settlement and we'll get salary increases in the end, and those salary increases will be with them as long as they're on the railway. So that money should be recovered over the long term, but it's important that their contracts of employment are defended.
When are the next strikes?
Well, we haven't planned that. We've got some discussions going on with the employers, the rail delivery group. If we can move forward to a position where we can consider a proposal, which we haven't got at the moment, we hope we don't have to have any strikes. But that's not the position. My executive will consider that when we get back to London next week. I'll give them a report on where we are. And if they need to take more strike action, that's what they'll go ahead with.
You mentioned the Labour Party. Sharon Graham, the General Secretary of Unite, has called Sir Keir Starmer a 90s tribute act, I guess following his reshuffle of his shadow cabinet last Monday. Do you agree with Sharon Graham that Sir Keir Starmer's Labour Party is becoming a 90s tribute act full of Blairites?
Well, I'm not going to use those terms myself. What I'm looking forward to is working with Labour.
Feel free to use your own terms.
Well, what I'm looking forward to is working with Labour to see what they can bring in. They've got the new deal for workers on the statute book. They've committed, and they will commit again this week, I predict, and I heard it myself last week from the Shadow Chancellor, that they will repeal these anti-union laws, these minimum service levels, in the first 100 days. Then there's going to be a new deal for workers, and then there'll be other stuff that we will agree. We won't agree with everything that the Labour Party do. That's never happened. But we'll put them under pressure in a constructive way, and we'll hold them to the commitments they've made to the Labour movement and to working people. So I'm not going to get into that, what kind of tribute act he is or not. I'm going to work out what he's going to do for working people in this country when he gets to be Prime Minister. His whole team, they've got a lot of challenges, but we'll work with them constructively, but we'll also be free to criticise them when they don't do the stuff that we think needs done.
Very briefly, are you going to the dinner with Sir Keir Starmer tomorrow night, General Council dinner? Your predecessor, Bob Crow, used to boycott it and go to the pub.
Well, I'll be attending the dinner along with everybody else on the General Council, and there are invited guests to speak from different parts of the movement, including Keir Starmer. I'll listen to what he's got to say, and if he wants to speak to me, I'll give him my advice as well.